When you've been doing martial arts for 25 years, you pick up some baggage. Baggage is human nature. Where do we get our baggage? There's a lot of psychologists here to probably answer that for you. When you have a lot of baggage, it makes it hard to move quick. Makes it hard to jump. Makes it hard to climb the ladder. Makes it hard to take advantage of opportunities because you're weighed down with all this baggage. Our goal is to help you free yourself of this baggage. What is baggage? In the context of what we're discussing today, as martial arts professionals, baggage represents the preconceived ideas we have about how martial arts should be taught and how martial arts should be presented. It's what I call the shoulds. Shoulds are very dangerous. Rational psychologists will tell you that should is one of the most negative words you can use. How do we use should in this context? Martial arts should be taught this way. I was taught that way, and God dang it, you should do it the way that I was taught it. That's irrational, because I have some news for you. The world does not revolve around your shoulds. Don't should all over yourself. It holds you back. It creates baggage. See, we have all benefited so powerfully from the martial arts. It has affected our lives and through us, the lives of thousands represented by this room. We understand the benefits, and how do we achieve those benefits? We went through a certain process, a methodology, how we were taught. Well, we think that, well, it worked good for me. I loved it that way. Look what it did for me. And in turn, I'm going to do that for you the same way it was done to me. So the key point is that we must separate the methodology from the benefits. Is it possible to achieve the same benefits in the martial arts, or possibly even more, if we were to improve on the methodology? Absolutely. Where did this methodology come from? Where did this baggage come from? Well, most of our instructors are somewhere down the line. Our schools typically started in the United States with someone who learned martial arts in the military. What an exciting place to learn martial arts. What's the atmosphere here? Well, I'm in an Asian country. I'm there on maybe 18 months, and I have nothing to do. I want to learn martial arts, so I go to this school. Who's teaching me? A highly disciplined adult. Who's he teaching? A highly disciplined military adult male. What's the atmosphere in the class? They're not doing student creeds. It's very intense. It's extremely strict. There's no laughter, no tolerance. You know what's interesting? A lot of those guys earn their black belt in less than a year over there. How else could you get a black belt in Okinawa if you're only on an 18-month service time over there, and you come back with a black belt? Then they land over here, or let me rephrase that. There is this baggage in our industry today that you must train 3 to 5 years or your black belt's no good. But wait a second, the people that earned it and taught us probably got it in 7. But that's a whole different story. So what happens in this situation? They were taught in a certain highly disciplined, strict environment. They enjoyed it. Something about it appealed to them. They come back to the States and they open their own school. God bless them for doing it. They are the pioneers, and they're the reason we are here. But wasn't it just natural that they would turn around and teach you the same way that they were taught? That's human nature. And that's when the multi-generational cycle began. And our goal is to break that cycle. And that was a cycle in many ways of abusive training methods, super strict, unforgiving classes, and a lot of shoulds. Now, let me say this. The technical qualities of a sidekick should always be strict. A sidekick is a sidekick is a sidekick. But how is that sidekick being presented? Is it being presented in an age specific manner when you're dealing with children? Is it being presented in a manner comfortable for somebody who's so out of shape, they're scared to death to be there in the first place? Or is it just be presented in one generic, hardcore way, take it or leave it, this is what it is? Do you see where the methodologies and the benefits are two separate things? This is a critical point. I know about this because this is how I came up through the ranks. I started my training in 1974. Crazy time for martial arts. Kung Fu was on television every night, or was it once or twice a week? Kung Fu. Billy Jack, Bruce Lee. Since what was happening in the schools was so rigid and hardcore and strange often, it was being portrayed in the media. Even one of the most progressive thinkers in the martial arts history, Bruce Lee, in his classic film, Into the Dragon, demonstrates this connection between teaching and pain. Because it seemed that every time an instructor in a film was babbling on or pontificating or philosophizing or teaching, there was always some kind of accentuation with pain.
That's it. How did it feel to you?
Let me think.
Don't think. Feel. It is like a finger pointing away to the moon. Don't concentrate on the finger or you will miss all that heavenly glory. Do you understand? Never take your eyes off your opponent, even when you bow.
That's it.
So what are we sitting there? Oh, wow, man, that's it. That's how it's taught. Did you ever see a Jackie Chan movie that didn't have him tortured by his instructor? I mean, candles under the thigh, he's holding out buckets, he's dying out here. Well, since this was what was being portrayed happening in the school, is being portrayed in the media, I mean, Kung Fu. Stand there and we'll shoot arrows at you. Your job is to catch them. Now, Kwai Chang Caine did a lot of philosophizing. He seemed to be a man at peace. But let's face it, we didn't watch it because of the peace. We didn't watch it for the tranquil mumblings as he staggered around the desert. We put up with that in order to see him sidekick somebody through a window. Billy Jack, a peace-loving flower child. I'm going to take this side of my foot and put it on that side of your face, and there's not a thing you can do about it. So his way of being peace-loving was to rip people's heads off. So this is an industry full of contradictions. What we have to do is recognize that we have to separate the methodologies from the benefits. When I started training in 1974, it was shortly after my dad and I went to see a really bad movie, The 5 Fingers of Death. We saw it 10 minutes from here at Clearwater Theater. It was the first of the Chopsaki films. We sat in that theater. I mean, I was raised on Clint Eastwood and John Wayne. I'd never seen anything like this before. These guys were flying through the air, body parts flying. This guy rips this guy's eyeballs out. 20-minute fight scenes, and at the end of the movie, the hero has the bad guy trapped on the other side of a wall. And he sits down, and his hand starts to shake, and he crashes through the wall, he grabs the guy by the throat, and he kills him with his 5 fingers of death. Man, I was jazzed. That was it. I had to learn. But I didn't run into the school and say, hey, can you do that thing with the hand? Because if you don't, I'm out of here. So we went and explored schools, and the school that we joined was an excellent school run by Mr. Walt Bone. He came up under the Alan Steen School of Tex, Kwon-Do, and Blood and Guts. But there was a lot of pain associated with the training. As James Michener said so well in the book Sports in America, he was referring to Little League Baseball, but to me, it was the perfect description of martial arts, particularly the school that I was raised in. Little League Baseball doesn't build strong character. It simply eliminates the weak ones. And I thought, this guy was at my school. This is how I was raised. I remember earning my green belt, coming in, and hey, green's pretty dark. That's cool. And you start to, do kicks in your forms, and I'm thinking, I'm cooking along here. So I come into the school, and Mr. Bone comes in and says, we're going to belt fight. Oh, cool. What's that? Well, we're going to fold our belts into quarters, and we're going to use them like nunchakus. Now, my exposure to nunchaku had been seeing Bruce Lee in Enter the Dragon. Beyond that, I had no idea what it was. I couldn't pronounce it. But if you remember in the mid-'70s, the belts were made of cardboard practically. They were real light, stuck straight out. So when you went to hit somebody with it, as I soon discovered, it just kind of fluttered and fell against their body. Whereas Mr. Bone had one of those real heavy Tokaido silk belts that tore flesh off your body and was a national nunchaku champion. This is an unfair matchup for a 15-year-old kid. And what he would do is hit you in the same spot over and over again, so hard that your leg would literally rip. I mean, he beat the snot out of you. Something about that appealed to me. Let's keep it in perspective. Something about that appealed to you too. So we'd go do demonstrations. And he'd have melees, 5 against 6, and just kill each other. It was amazing. We were going through our archives recently, and we happened to come across some video of Mr. Bone doing a belt fight. Now, I'm not actually in this. This is about a month after. I was still recovering. I was actually sitting in the bleachers watching this happen. So you're going to see what I came up with here. This was a standard ritual. Just getting the snot beat out of us. Look at this poor kid screaming. Now today, this would end him in jail. If you grab the belt, you got stomped. He stomps this. Bang. Watch the body respond to this thing. That belt weighs 10 pounds if it weighs anything. Every time. And then his buddy jumps in, saves him with his little cardboard belt. Here's a nice slow motion. Look at the pain in this kid's face. Oh, these poor kids. This is a demonstration at a local high school. Yes, this is about a year after safety gear had been introduced. We were still discovering safety gear. Come join our school. It's safe, it's fun, you'll love it. Oh, this poor guy fell down. He just gets stomped and beat. And it's just a melee. And people just lined up to join. And this guy got his nose broken and he's upset.